Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody to this call today, which is being recorded live. As you can see behind me, we have the full staff running. And I think basically Matt and Zach decided to pick the oldest, grayest guy that they could find. So I get to be your host for the next couple of hours or so. Again, I really want to welcome you to SpotOn wholeheartedly. I love this job. I love this business. SpotOn has added something completely different to the process. As you know, with our core product, it's taking payments to a whole nother level. So it's really an exciting time to be a part of what's going on here at SpotOn. There are literally thousands and thousands of new businesses launched every single day. What are our business practices? I guess that's one of the first things that we want to go into. And key to the whole thing is we want to offer valuable products that are developed in-house, okay, and are going to help clients run and grow their business, okay? So that's the key. What we want to do is create tremendous value from the get-go. So everything that we do is internal, and that gives you tremendous power when you're out there. One of the things that I absolutely love about that is that you can go out and run into a situation, right, where a merchant needs something or they're not getting something they would like to have, and you're able to actually now offer that to them or be able to say, hey, let me run back to corporate. We have a team of programmers, and let's see what we can do about developing that for you. So I think you're going to love that. We're nimble. We're growing very quickly. We have 3 different offices now. Of course, our San Francisco headquarters. We've got Chicago office where we do all of our programming. And then we just bought an office in Detroit as well. So there's a lot of exciting things going on here. So keep in mind that we want to create valuable product offerings that are actually going to do something for that business, not just sit on the table collecting dust and collecting money. Okay. Second, we are offering transparent pricing to all of our merchants, okay? This is so crucial. I have worked for many different ISOs over the years. Like I said, I've built a couple from scratch. And one of the things you find in this industry is that merchants are out there flat out, okay? The processing companies are out to make as much money as they possibly can off of these merchants, okay? I'm not a fan of that. And what happens is, you know, they'll go out and sign somebody up. They'll tell them there's no fees, there's no contract. A lot of times that's a lie. There is a contract, and there are fees coming. Okay, so all of a sudden the merchant calls you. You're the guy. You're the agent, right? You and I are the agents. We're out there talking to people. And how would you like to give somebody your word, right? Your integrity is on the line, and you've told them they're not going to have any fees, and 6 months from now they get hit with some kind of fee. Annual fee, statement fee, minimum fee. And because this business is not regulated, all that a merchant company has to do is put something on their statement, give them a 30-day notice and say, we're changing X. And if they don't respond within 30 days to that, guess what? They've now agreed to those new terms and conditions. It's a very shady way to do business, and there are maybe a handful of companies in the entire country that have transparent pricing like we do. So one of the things you're going to absolutely love, because you're going to run into merchants that say, oh, you guys are all the same, or you guys are all a bunch of crooks or whatever. And one of the great things you're going to be able to combat that with is, you know what? That's the beauty of us. We put in writing that you're never going to have a fee, which means you're not going to pay a statement fee. You're not going to pay a batch fee. You're not going to have to worry about PCI. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. You're not going to have to worry about a regulatory fee or a monthly minimum. No equipment leasing, right? And no ETF. So what happens out there, and what you're going to find if you've done any research in this business at all, is that most companies are going to throw their people onto the street with no training whatsoever. And so I like to think, at least on the positive side, that maybe these reps are not actually misrepresenting they're just misinformed or they don't have the information. But the beauty with us is that you're not going to have to worry about that. You're not going to have to worry that you've told a merchant one thing and 3 months later, they're going to have a completely different understanding of us, what we do, what we charge. Okay. So again, zero fees, people, zero. Okay. On the credit card side, we'll talk about the core fee here in a little bit, but just PCI compliance. Let me just talk about that just for 1 second. Okay. PCI compliance is a pain in the butt. All right. It requires the merchant to log in. Generally, they've got to answer somewhere between 30 and 60 questions. There's a scan involved. Sometimes, a lot of times, they have to actually call in to their processing company, right? They've got to call in and get the data or the information or their merchant ID number, or sometimes they can't, the link doesn't work. There's a billion different things that happen, and trust me, I've talked to these merchants for years and years, since PCI came out about 7-8 years ago. It's the same story. And it's not the price of the PCI compliance, which generally runs from $79 to maybe $149 a year. That's not really what bugs them. What bugs them is that they've got to spend all this time figuring it out. And what ends up happening is a lot of these merchants do their PCI compliance. They go through the questionnaire. They don't know what half of the answers are. And then they think they've passed, right? So they get their certification. They're ready to go. What they don't know is this. If they answered any of those questions, okay, dishonestly, or they weren't actually what's happening at their business, and there is a breach of some kind, they're still not protected, and they can still get fined by Visa. And in the years I've been doing this, I've seen a handful of businesses literally lose their companies because there was some kind of fraud issue, and they weren't protected, and now they get fined by Visa, and they're done. It's really that simple. So if you can learn one thing about just this little piece about PCI, is that we take care of that for the merchants. And this is a huge selling point for you when you're out there, okay? You want to talk about the fact that, yeah, we don't charge you the fee, which is on average going to be about $10 a month, but more importantly, we give you that time back, right? And every single merchant, understand this, there's two things that every single merchant that you walk into wants. One is more money, and two is more time. And by taking care of the PCI requirement, we're giving him more time, okay? Just think of the frustration of having to deal with that. And with SpotOn, that's not something you're gonna have to worry about. So let's talk about some of the industry business practices that I've seen over the years. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long, long time, close to 14 years. And I've signed over 4,000 merchant accounts personally. I'm still out there signing deals each and every month. So I see what goes on. I've seen what's going on. I think it's become more and more prevalent because statements in this business have gotten more and more complicated. And to give you an example, when I first started in this business, early 2000s, right, there were only a handful of things that were even on a statement. One was a statement fee. One was a batch fee. And then the merchant had 3 rates, sometimes 4. They had a qualified rate, a mid-qualified, and a non-qualified rate. That was it. There was no interchange. There was no hybrid pricing. There was no flat rate. There was none of that. And it was a big deal when offline debit came out. And all of a sudden, we had a 4th rate, right, for debit card. So you can imagine, merchants had a much better understanding of what was actually going on. So that was one thing. The second thing is that the reps had a better idea of what was going on. So it was much more transparent than it is today. Now, of course, we've got PCI requirements. We've got all those same fees, the statement fee and the batch fee, but we've got annual fees. And then, like I said, we've got these different insight fees. We've got assessments, dues, all sorts of stuff going on. And you've got processing companies trying to figure out the next way, basically, to trick their merchant into thinking they're paying one thing, right, when they're really paying another. And that also affects you, because if that statement is tricky and you don't really understand it, we're going to talk about some statement stuff here later in this call, okay? Interchange, by the way, is cost. Just think of it as cost, okay? Interchange are the fees that Visa and MasterCard charge to the issuing banks. There's no way around it. If you've got a merchant that tells you, oh, I pay 1% flat on all my processing, it is not the case. Okay, there's no such thing. Rates range from 0.05 and 22 cents all the way up to 2.95 and 10 cents, depending on the card. There's other factors in there, but there's literally hundreds of rates on the Visa side, MasterCard side, Discover, American Express. They're all over the board. And there's a few different reasons why they qualify for one thing or another. The biggest thing being the card that the person is using, whether it be a debit card, rewards card, a corporate card. That's going to have the biggest factor. But what you're finding is these companies are inflating interchange, telling people it's interchange, so they think they're getting cost, and we call it internal markup. They're actually building up the price internally, okay? Disguise statements, I see it all the time. They'll show a transaction fee, for example, on the very front of the statement, and then they bury another transaction fee on the back and call it something totally different. So we see that kind of stuff. Aggressive rate increases. This has become a big, big thing. As a matter of fact, we just switched over a merchant next door to my office, actually, in Savage, Minnesota. And they had been hit with 4 straight rate increases in 4 straight months. Can you believe that? Now, they weren't huge increases, 4, 5, 6 basis points, but over the course of 4 months, those people had over a 20-point rate increase. Now, can you imagine? You signed up, right? You just went out and signed up Joe's Crab Shack at 15 points over cost, and all of a sudden Joe's Crab Shack 4 months later is at 35, paying more than double what you signed them up for. How does it make you look? Terrible. But this is the kind of stuff that's going on today. Junk fees. Okay, this is another big thing. They'll just pepper the statement with a bunch of junk fees. Again, I highly encourage you to jump on the podcasts that go into statement analysis, so you'll learn more about junk fees, what they mean, what are the real fees, what are the fake fees. That's all part of that process. But I want you to understand this is going on out there all over the place, and you're fortunate enough to have landed with a company that doesn't believe in any of that. Matt and Zach and RJ are completely focused on no junk fees and no misrepresentation and no false business practices. Absolutely love that. In a nutshell, just to kind of review this real quickly, okay? We don't charge any junk fees. We don't charge any type of fees on the credit card side of the business, which means you're not going to have a statement fee. You're not going to have to worry about PCI, no batch fee. None of those things are going to be part of the equation here at SpotOn, okay? And then we talk about the other stuff that companies are doing out there, and that is the unfair business practices as far as adding services or products onto somebody's bill that they A, don't know about, or B, does them absolutely no good at all. Okay, this happens all the time. As a matter of fact, a lot of times you're going to run into the smaller merchants. And when I say smaller, I'm talking about merchants maybe doing a little less than $5,000 a month. Let's just call it 0 to 5, right? Which is your lowest commission on your pay plan. So they will give somebody great rates. So they might have them at 15 and 5 or 20 and 5. Really good, strong rates. But then you find, you look on the last page of the statement, and all of a sudden you're looking at literally $70, $80, $90 in fees, most of which is junk and completely unnecessary. And that's where they're making all their money. Because think about it, you're not making a lot, right? If somebody's only doing 3,000 and you're charging 20 points, that's not a lot of money. Okay, but what if you're making another $60, $70 on the back end? All of a sudden, that's a very profitable merchant. And that's what, again, what we're seeing out there. So feel good that you're not going to be dealing with any of that stuff. Okay, so let's go into a little bit about SpotOn, and this is going to be one of your questions. Just so you know, you're going to need to know this information. Okay, the co-founders of SpotOn are Matt and Zach Hyman, twin brothers. I still really can't tell them apart. My secret is when I walk in, one's in one office, one's in the other. I look at what the one guy's wearing, and then I'm like, okay, just remember that shirt. And then all day long, I'm good, right? But by the next day, I've already forgotten. and I know there's something with their face or whatever, but trust me, they look identical, they talk identical. It's almost impossible, right, to know. But what's cool about Matt and Zach is, number one, they've had a great track record. I actually, as I mentioned earlier in this call, actually worked for their very first ISO called Card Payment Solutions. They had that for 5 years. Started a company called Central Payment, which they owned from 2005 to 2018. They actually sold the last piece of that last year, so not that long ago. Sold that to a company called TSYS, TSYS. You can look them up. Publicly traded company, been around since 1960. And now, of course, since 2017, they've been full-time here with SpotOn. And this company, although founded in 2010, really is become what it is now since 2017, since we added payment processing to our core roster. So Matt and Zach Hyman, founders, co-owners. Doran out in Chicago, also a co-founder, and he is runs that Chicago office, which we talked about a little bit earlier on this call. I want to make sure I'm covering everything for you guys. I don't want you to miss out on anything on this test, just so you know. So I'm covering all that. Okay, but it's really cool to know that you are going to be able to get a hold of the actual owners of this company when you need to. I mean, I love that. And I have a team of agents in the Midwest, and they love the fact that if they have to get a hold of RJ, who's our president, by the way, RJ Horsley, or Zach or Matt or any of these guys, they're available. As a matter of fact, I know this for a fact when I come up to San Francisco. You can see what's happening behind me. This is our one of our corporate offices, is that these guys spend a few hours every day just calling out to agents, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing. And I get emails all the time from people saying, you know, it's so cool that the owner of the company called me, right? Because not many companies will do that, and certainly not many ISOs are going to be doing that. So keep that in mind, that you're working for a company that cares about each individual sales partner. We have conversations here all the time. I'll bring up a name and they will know exactly what's going on with that. RJ, I believe, has a photographic memory. He doesn't admit to it, but I'm pretty sure he does, because you can talk to him about stuff that happened 2 months ago and he can bring it up just like that. Okay, it's crazy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the SpotOn history. As of right now, we've had 33 million check-ins, 164,000 campaigns. We have over 5 million customers out there with the SpotOn app, 2 million loyalty redemptions, and over 100 million campaigns received so far since launch. That's pretty impressive. Like, just looking at this thing, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And that's in a very, very short period of time. Just imagine where we're going to be in the future. But having said that, it's 100% important that you are focused on continuing this brand, right? And helping us build this into the billions. I mean, that's really where we want to go. And we're only as good as our weakest sales partner, honestly. We're all building the brand, right? Each one of us got the SpotOn shirt on today. But we're representing SpotOn when you're out there. You're an employee of this company. You're not an independent contractor. Again, I can only think of a handful of companies, Heartland being one of them, where people are actually employees of the company. This means you get things like benefits. And just a little side story on that. I was paying $3,000 a month for insulin. I'm a diabetic. I got the insurance just last month from SpotOn and finally qualified for that. And my insulin is now $7 a month. The insurance is phenomenal. So I have a guy on my team, for example, that has heart issues. He hasn't even been able to afford to go in for a consult. With our insurance, he paid $20. It would have been over $3,500 for a 1-hour consult with a cardiac doctor. So I can't tell you enough how much money we're pouring back into our sales partners. And that's going to be, 401k down the road. It's also dental. It's also vision. And you get a cell phone allowance. You get, car allowance. There's some really cool things. And the fact that you're part of the team is a big responsibility. Because if you're out there telling people the wrong thing or giving SpotOn a bad name, that reflects on the entire company. And literally, we're pouring millions of dollars every month into this company to make it the best it can possibly be. Part of the reason we're doing the certification right here is to make sure you know what you're talking about when you're out there talking to agents, okay? So let's move on past that. So what makes us different? I love the adage, your business is our business, okay? This is what you want to be talking to your merchants about. We are not a payment processing company. We are a digital media company that does payments. And there's a big, big difference. And you'll see when you're out there, payment processes are a dime a dozen. All right? And they're all offering the same thing. If you're walking in talking to merchants and you're saying the same thing as every other processor is, you're not going to have any success. And everybody says the same thing. We can save you money, right? And we're never going to take advantage of you. But the party line is we're going to save you money. We're going to be cheaper than your current processor. And you know, when I talk to merchants, what they say? Yeah, I've switched like 5 times. And guess what? I still pay the same as I paid 5 times ago. It's a race to the bottom, people. Okay? It is not something that is sustaining. Because if you're selling somebody on price, guess what? As soon as they find a better price, they're gone. And I've literally had people switch to me. I know this from firsthand experience. I've had people switch to me to save a couple of bucks a month, like literally $2 a month. Not everybody will, but you'd be surprised how many merchants are not loyal at all if you're selling them on price. And so that's one of the big things about us, is that we offer the products, we offer the service, and we also offer the best rates. So you can still compete on the price side with everybody. You can still get out there and say, listen, we can beat any rate that you've got, but more important than that, you've got products that actually have value that you can sell, which we're going to get into today, and you've got services as well to offer to everybody. So we've got powerful software solutions that are going to make the difference in people's lives, help them run and grow their business. And remember, we talked way back, right, at the beginning of this call about how important it is to take care of our customers, right? And to help them run and grow is all they're looking to do. We're putting time back on the clock for them, and we're saving them money. 2 of the biggest things that every business owner wants. So let's talk a little bit about our contract, which, by the way, there is no contract. So that's another question on your test, by the way. So be sure to remember that. Again, other than Square, I don't know of a company nationwide that doesn't have a contract. And ours is literally, not only is there no contract, it's right there on the 3rd page of your application in bold print that there's no contract. So we don't hide it. We don't put it in the fine print, and I love that. And when we're closing a merchant, I'm out with a sales partner, we're writing up the contract, I always circle that. And it is obviously a big part of our closing is, guess what? If you're not happy with what we're doing, then you can leave. And we spend literally thousands of dollars to acquire a merchant. So why would we want to do a bad job? We're just going to lose you. You're just going to leave. And then we've lost all that money that we've invested in your business. So I think that's really, really important that there's no contract. It's just awesome. All right. And again, a big selling tool for you is going into that and talking about how there's no contract, right? And that makes us different from all the other processors out there. Because why do you need a contract if you're going to do a good job taking care of a customer? You don't. And SpotOn knows that, which is why we don't have one, right? So let's talk about a little bit about the ecosystem of SpotOn, a little bit about our product, right? So we have a lot of different pieces to the pie. We've got our register POS. We've got our payroll, which we'll talk about through Gusto. We've got mobile solutions. We've got the virtual terminal, engagement tools, restaurant POS, scheduling software, and now with our latest acquisition, website creation and layout. So we want to be a one-stop shop for your small businesses. And I'll tell you just a little aside on that, right? Just a little secret for you. One of the things you're going to find when you're out there is that some of the merchants that you're talking to are going to have gift cards, for example. Okay, such a simple tool, right? Gift cards. But here's the thing: a lot of times we can't convert the gift cards that are out there. All right, I just signed a big account in Wisconsin actually a couple of weeks ago, and luckily we were able to do the conversion. I didn't have to deny that account. But a lot of times what happens is the gift cards that are out there, we may not be compatible with, right? And if you're a merchant, and even if you have, like, let's say 75 or 100 gift cards out there, right? You do not want to have to try to figure that out because you switch processors. Now all these gift cards are coming in and they don't work. You don't know what the balances are, okay? Such a simple thing, right? Okay? I encourage each one of you, when you're signing an account, if it at all makes sense, to sign them up for our gift cards. All right. First of all, they get 50 for free. We don't charge a processing fee. We don't charge a monthly fee. They just pay for the cards as they use them. Again, totally different from every other processor out there. Okay. Every other processor is charging some kind of swipe fee when the cards are activated, when they're deactivated, when they're loaded, when they're used, or they're charging a monthly fee. And then on top of that, they charge for the cards. The beauty with us is we don't do that. And I'll tell you why this is key as we get into the sales later in this call, Sales 101. It's really important because 90% of the reps that come in the door, if your merchant has gift cards out there, are not going to want to convert them. So that helps you with attrition. It helps you keep your portfolio healthy, and it helps you grow your portfolio because, again, remember this, we don't have a contract. So we have no way to really hold their feet to the fire, right? Whereas another company might have a $450 cancellation fee or $700 cancellation fee or whatever it might be. We don't have that. So gift cards are a great way for you to keep your merchant tucked in with you because, again, most reps walking in the door aren't going to want to deal with that. So I think that's really important that you understand that. Okay. So what products do we offer? This is going to be on your test. Okay. So again, we have the digital marketing review management. We've got the loyalty, right? We've got the scheduler. We've got food and beverage POS. We've got websites. We've got other things as well. But those are the main products that we have out there. Okay. We do not do leasing. We do not do leasing. Okay. There is a lot of money in leasing, people. Okay. SpotOn could make literally millions of dollars a year if they had a leasing program. But they don't feel it's ethical. They don't feel it's the right way to do business. And as a result, we don't do it. So they would rather pay you a higher commission per deal, which they do. They pay about triple the average. As a matter of fact, my own ISO, I was paying my people less than a third per deal than what SpotOn pays our sales partners. So you should also feel really, really good about that. So we do not lease though, okay? And that's really, really important. We also have tremendous customer support. It's now 24/7. When I started, it was only 5.5 days a week, and now we've got somebody here all the time to answer your calls. So one of the things that merchants will ask you when you sign them is, well, what's your support like? And they'll also say, do they speak English? And yes, we have a variety of language options, English being one of them, okay? But I love to tell people, listen, you've got different points of contact. Number one, you've got me. Here's my card. Here's my cell phone number. You can call me. But the beauty is that I have the greatest team behind me. It's 24/7 support. I'm going to get notified right away on my cell phone when something happens, which, by the way, you do. It's fantastic. I get an email anytime there's a conversation between one of my merchants, right, and somebody here behind me. I get an email, and it has a synopsis about what happened on that call. And guess what the first thing we do? We call that merchant right away, and we talk to them about it. So even if the problem's been resolved, because that's good customer service. So you are the front line, and our support team behind me here is your secondary support, right? They're your backup team. And hopefully you have a tremendous amount of success in this business, and you're going to rely more and more and more on that team. All right, when you have 20 merchants, not such a big deal. When you have 200 or 2,000, it's a totally different ballgame, and you better know that you've got people behind you that are going to support what you're doing for them, okay? So keep in mind, that's one of the things that it just makes us stand out like nobody else out there. So it's kind of really, really cool, okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about our platform fee, okay, and our platform itself. And I think this is kind of cool, and I actually pushed for this. We used to be at $35 a month, and we included a loyalty program, and now we are at $25 a month. So our core platform fee is $25, all right? And there's a couple of different ways you can sell this fee. Number one, it's going to include our marketing. It's going to include our review management. It's going to include the app, the real-time processing app. So they've got the data right on their phone. And for those of you that haven't done it already, make sure you've downloaded, right, the 3 different apps. All right, the 3 different SpotOn apps. Number one is going to be the dashboard. That is going to be your ability to go in and actually view your own merchants, right? Your own portfolio, be able to see what the processing volume is. You're going to be able to look at sales calls, for example, for the week, which I highly encourage you to be on. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Then there's going to be the demo app. Okay, that's a really nice one because that's what I use to show people what our app does. Okay, and the only thing, honestly, that I really show people when I'm in doing a cold call or an initial presentation is just the review management. Review management is such a powerful tool. We've spent millions of dollars on it. And in a nutshell, what it does is gives you access to the top 12 review sites in one place. So you're able to not only see those reviews, see your overall meta score, right? But more importantly, respond to those reviews right from your phone. And for those of you that have ever had a business or know somebody that has a business, so crucial. Timing is everything. You got to be able to get back to people as quickly as you possibly can. And that's what this review management piece does. So for $25, they get all of that. But we haven't even mentioned, right? Remember what we talked about earlier in this call. There is no such thing as any fees on the credit card side. So that means it also includes their PCI compliance, includes their PCI, includes their statement fee, their batch fee, their support fee, everything you can possibly imagine. And if you're a merchant, what would you rather have? You know you're paying $25 a month and you get all of these actual services and products and features for it, or you know what, I pay 10 some months, 50 other months, then once a year I get hit with a $129 annual fee. Oh, and I have this $40 non-compliance fee because I did my compliance, but for whatever reason the company says I didn't do it, and now I've got to call them and argue about it and get it credited, and they may or may not credit me. I mean, I'm telling you guys, it's a freaking nightmare. It is. And merchants are dealing with it all the time. They're sick of it, which is why when they find you and you do a good job and you take care of them and you have a company like SpotOn behind you that's not gouging them, it's not changing their rates every month, that's not adding fees that they shouldn't be paying, they're not going to leave you. Our attrition is tremendously low, tremendously low. And that's with these products that we've had growing pains with that honestly are 5 times better than they were back in July when I started. Point 2 is fantastic compared to point 1. And we still had low attrition. Imagine what it's going to be like now. So I want you to understand that because it's really important that you understand the core fee. And you need to separate that from the process. They're 2 separate entities, even though we do them together. But if you need more firepower to sell that core fee, make sure that your merchant knows that everything is included in that $25 a month. Okay? Everybody hang in there with me.